Yep. Looks like it's coming out of the top of my head, Miss Mills. Today we are talking about Miss Melina's school.
Surprise! It's me, Melina. Hi, everyone. My mom has disappeared for now. So if you didn't know, it's Independence Day in America. So that is why I have all this. I have this dress. My school. I'm not telling you my school, but it is awesome. And also, I might be going to this year because of coronavirus.
You're a little dramatic, aren't you? Hi, I'm Wendy Valencia. Today we are going to walk through the 7 different options that we have for fall 2020 school for our 8-year-old Melina, who you just met. And we're going to talk about all the implications of each scenario on our family's budget. And I'm not going to lie, every single option is going to cost money. A crap ton of money. Crap ton might be my favorite word. I use it a lot. There is no way that our school system will please every single person. There's no way any school system can please every single person. Even if they offered a choice of every single option from full distance learning to full-time in school, there would be teachers unhappy because they wouldn't feel safe and they would be forced to come to work. And legitimately, there is no perfect situation for everyone, and I totally get that. And I want to clarify from the beginning, I'm actually not mad or upset with my county. But my county, Fairfax County, which is, if you don't know, we live in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. in Northern Virginia. They're not offering what works for my kid. So let's walk through the steps that we've taken to find a good solution for our 8-year-old Melina for the 2021 school year and how we're taking our budget into account because cost is always a factor in my family. And I'm hoping that by us walking through the details of our selection and how we made our decisions, it'll help one of y'all come to like a better solution or maybe come up with a few ideas you hadn't considered. So in order to tell you what we're doing, I have to talk about what our county has already decided. And at the end of June, our county decided that we would have 2 options. We'd have full-time online distance learning, which means learning from home on a computer, where you would be interacting with the teacher for 1 hour a day, 4 days a week, and then, a half an hour here and there with like maybe the arts teacher and the music teacher. But for the most part, most of the education would be occurring through homework and through the parents. The second option is in school 2 days a week and online distance learning 2 days a week. So in that scenario, that 5th day when kids would normally be in school is now a teacher planning day. So is this on par with your schools where you live? I feel like it's more on the conservative side, but maybe I'm wrong. Leave me a comment down below and tell me what y'all's schools are doing. So of the 2 plans that the county came up with, neither option works for my family at all, and there are 2 major reasons why. The first issue is that, as I mentioned, both Mauricio and I work full-time away from the house, and we have been for several months. We had a full-time nanny coming, because if you watch my budgets, we've been paying $3,000 to $4,000 a month for a nanny. And from the beginning, we knew that our nanny situation was only temporary. We knew that starting this week, the day you're seeing this video go live, our nanny is gone. And truth be told, the nanny was never a cost-effective long-term solution for us. It's just far too expensive. But on the flip side, the second issue was far more important than the money. Money is a factor, for sure, but this issue was the most important. And that was simply that Melina had major issues with online learning. Melina found paying attention while on the computer to be exceptionally difficult. So what exactly are our options? There are 7. Number 1, one of us quits our job to stay at home. Number 2, public school 2 days a week and hire a nanny for the other 3. Number 3, public school 2 days a week and go to SAC 3 days a week. This one also might be public school 2 days a week, go to SAC 2 days a week, and hire a nanny 1 day a week. Don't know. Number 4, a small group private teacher. Number 5, go to a Christian private school. Number 6, go to a private school that is not affiliated with any religion. Number 7, move to another county. So what are the pros and the cons of each solution? The one of us quits our job to stay home. So because of our plan for retirement, I have to keep my job. I can't quit it until I have reached 30 years because we need our medical for our retirement. And so quitting the job is only an option for Mauricio. So the pro would be Mauricio is going to eventually quit his job anyway in several years. So he can go to grad school. He could just do this and get on with it much faster. But the con is that Mauricio makes close to triple what the most expensive option would be. And that would be a huge financial loss for us. Number two, public school 2 days a week and hire a nanny. Pro, if we hire the right nanny, Melina could benefit from a huge amount of one-on-one contact with them. Plus, if we go to full-time online learning, we already have someone at home. So, because that is a very real fear for us. The con would be this solution is extremely expensive and results in a less than stellar education for my daughter. Not because the online learning is bad, but because my daughter's ability to function online is not wonderful. Number three, public school 2 days a week and go to SAC 3 days a week or SAC 2 days a week with a nanny. The pro would be Melina would not have to change anything, and this is one of the lower cost solutions. So there's two major pros really. The con is the county actually hasn't even discussed SAC. We did just get notified on Friday that they are going to be offering SAC summer camp. So I'm assuming they're offering SAC, but I really don't know. I've heard rumors that even if they do offer SAC during the school year, that they're only offering it to the kids of the teachers. Number four, small group with a private teacher. So basically that would be like a group of, anywhere from 3 to 5 kids in the same grade, and they have a private teacher that works with them. And this could be done in conjunction with online learning or to replace online learning. And we are actually in the process of talking to someone about doing that. The pro is it's a great, low ratio, hands-on education if you can get a qualified individual. And that's the big key. The cons are, shockingly, there are quite a few cons to this. First, finding a qualified person to lead the group is going to be very, very difficult. Second, it's going to be very expensive because right now it'd be about like $1,000 per month for just the schooling, and we're only talking about 4 hours a day, so we'd still have to hire a nanny for the other 5 to 6 hours a day. Then we'd have to find a location because a lot of people aren't going to have a bunch of kids come into their house. So based on complications and cost, we might as well just go with option number 2. Number 5, we could go to a private Christian school. And the school we actually like the best is perfectly aligned with our morals and beliefs, which is great. And the con is that in a lot of these instances, it's a far drive, and driving there is going to be a pain. Probably the biggest con is that there is the very real possibility that she'll go to the school and love it, and then we're never going to take her out. That is a fear, a legitimate fear. Number 6, go to a private school that is not affiliated with an actual religion. So the pros are, these are pretty much the very best schools in the area, and they do have a reputation for getting kids into Ivy League schools, obviously not from elementary school, but you know what I mean. That's not really a goal for us, but hey, it's a selling point. The cons are the cost of these schools is shocking. On the low end, tuition is $30,000 a year. And yes, you heard me right, that's the low end. The most expensive school is around $55,000 a year, which is way more than most colleges cost. So number 7 would be move to another county. Pro, the school would be free because it's a public school. And the con would be we'd have to move out and start over and leave my parents and possibly pay more in rent than we'd be paying in tuition at one of the private schools. So how are we narrowing down the choices? The very first thing we did after we listed out all our options was we started doing the research. I had a friend who was looking into a small group tutor for us, and a couple of other kids, but that option actually kind of petered out fairly quickly because finding a qualified tutor was almost impossible. The reason being, most of the tutors already had contracts with people, with families that they had been working with since like April. That meant option number 4 was way off the table. So while my friend was researching that option, I was on Google Maps and I looked for all the schools in a 10-mile radius of my office, because you remember that Mauricio works in the building next to mine, so we work fairly close together. In the Washington, D.C. area, 10 miles is about an hour's drive each way during peak traffic times. So that meant driving distance is also something we had to consider. I know you're going to find this shocking, but the next thing I did was I made a spreadsheet. I know. I love my spreadsheets. I have spreadsheets for my spreadsheets. Obviously, I'm not going to show you my actual spreadsheet because you don't need to know the schools we're considering, but this is the template I used. Across the top, I wrote the following headers: school name, website. Trust me when I tell you, you want to have the website in there because with this many schools, hyperlinks are your friend. I had addresses because that helped with Google. The grades that they service, so like K through 8 or K through 12, their online rating. I put their overall score and any reoccurring issues that I saw in the ratings in the comments. Class size or student to teacher ratio. Availability, meaning are they accepting new students in 3rd grade? And were they offering full-time? What was their online learning plan like? For example, I reviewed and made notes about what they had done from April to June and any plans that they had coming up. So if they were augmenting for the upcoming year, just in case. The tuition, the strongest assets, meaning like what did the school brag about on their website? Special focuses, if any, for example, Spanish, Catholic, Montessori. Then I had emailed/called, which was the name of the person I had reached out to or the email address and the date I did that, whether they responded, did we apply, and any notes that we had. So anything that didn't fit in the other categories or notes that I made during the phone conversation. We actually eliminated several schools right off the bat because, one, I discovered that it was really rare that a school be rated lower than a 4.0. So that basically told me to be wary of any schools that were lower than a 4.0. So we went ahead and crossed all those off. Next, I started emailing and making phone calls, and there were a ton of schools that didn't even respond. And while I get that they were swamped, I totally understand that they were swamped. The fact that nobody reached out to me signaled 2 things. 1, there was no room, so they weren't going to waste time. Or 2, their infrastructure was not there. Both of these things would be giant red flags to me. And as the schools called back, we quickly discovered that almost all of the schools were waitlist only. And waitlist only meant I was going to be spending money to apply, knowing that we probably would never get in. So we did apply to one school that was waitlist only because there were only 1 or 2 people on the waitlist. And I feel like a lot of people right now are applying for multiple schools and then they're going to decide later. So as schools were eliminated, I made their text red and moved them down to the bottom of the spreadsheet. So the list kept getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And at the end of the analysis, we were actually down to only 6 schools that had potential, and we started with like close to 30. So there was 1 private Christian school, 2 private Catholic schools, and 3 non-religion affiliated schools. Then it was time to run the numbers for all the options. As you know, I always tell people to do the math, because by doing the math, you are aware of all the potential financial implications of your decision. This is one of the fundamental rules we have when making a choice that has a significant financial impact. This does not mean that our decisions are made because of the numbers. Rather, we use a cost to benefit ratio. So with each of our possible plans, this is how it came out. Number 1, one of us quits our job. This was never a viable option for us because the long-term income loss is just far too great. On top of that, Mauricio would have to be the one to quit his job, and his masculinity would probably take a major hit as a result. Number 2, public school 2 days a week and hiring a nanny. This one is still on the table, actually, because if my parents decide to reintegrate into society, it's possible for them to serve as our nanny, although that would be a lot to ask of them. So, but finding a nanny is an option. This is one of our highest cost options, costing approximately $1,750 a month. But if we don't get into a school or one of the other options doesn't work out, this may be our only option. The third option, public school 2 days a week and going to SAC 3 days a week, or a nanny. This is probably one of the better solutions, but I doubt it's going to be a possibility. The cost of this option would be around $700 a month. Unless we have to throw in a nanny for 1 day a week, then it's going to be closer to $1,000. Number 5, go to private Christian school. So at this point, this option has the highest cost to benefit ratio because the schools we're looking at are all planning on full-time in-school plans, and they also have really strong online learning programs. And so the price of these schools is anywhere from $700 a month to about $1,600 a month, but that puts her in school 5 days a week. And like I said, if they have to close the school, these schools have great online learning programs. Whether she'll pay attention to them or not is a totally different story. Number 6, go to a private school that's not affiliated with any religion. This option's off the table because the cost to benefit ratio is much, much lower than any of the other viable options. She would be in school 5 days a week, and they have phenomenal online programs, but the monthly cost of these schools is $3,000 to $5,000 a month. And we learned from paying $3,000 to $4,000 a month in nanny expenses in May and June that this amount has a significant impact on our financial goals. The last one is move to another county nearby. So this option is still kind of on the table, but only because some of the local areas haven't decided what they're going to do next. All indication is that for these schools, they're going to decide fairly similarly to Fairfax County, at which point they're going to be taken off the table because why would I move when I can do the same thing here? So what's our decision? So plan A is go to a Christian private school. I submitted an application at one of the private Catholic schools with a friend of mine, and I handed her both applications, and she was offered a contract and I was not, and we're only assuming that's because we're not Catholic. So the 2 other schools, I'm still waiting to hear back from them. The Christian school and then the other Catholic school that Melina has applied for. We're fairly high on the wait list in both scenarios. So as things begin to settle out, hopefully we can move up into a class. But, you know, we still have to, in one of the schools, we have to have an interview, and Melina has to take some assessments to get in. Plan B, the public school with SAC. Like I said, I seriously doubt this will be an option, but if it is, it's pretty dang high to the top of the list. If we choose this option, Melly's education is going to not be phenomenal, but the truth be told, Melly is educationally ahead of her grade. So, you know, we can augment it with me teaching her in the evenings if I have to. But really the only reason this isn't plan A is because she'd still only have 2 days a week in class. And I feel like she needs to be in school mode way more than 2 days a week. Plan C is public school with a nanny or move, or my mom. And we haven't gotten to the point where we're having to make this decision yet because our A and B options are still up in the air. The one thing we have to consider is this is a huge risk for us because we could potentially pay a crap ton of money for a private school, and then in a month, everybody goes back to online learning and we're all sitting in our houses working from home again. And then we basically had tens of $1,000s taken out of our bank accounts for something that we could have gotten for free with the county. Although I expect a private is going to be a lot better. So I'll keep you updated. Make sure you follow me on Instagram so I'll keep you updated as to how all our different processes are going. So let me know, are you stressing like I am? I keep telling Mauricio, this is one of the hardest decisions I've ever made in my life. So I'll see you in the next one.
Goodbye! I better clean that up before my mom gets